The tension at FBC continues to mount as unresolved questions linger. At the last members' meeting, the elders appeared confident in their assertions, yet their responses seemed to raise more questions than they answered. One elder boldly claimed that accusations against them, particularly regarding the recent business mishap, have far surpassed the concerns brought by the aggrieved buyer, calling them demonstrably false. But what part of these allegations, many made in detailed videos and letters, are you labeling as untrue? Are legitimate and provable concerns being dismissed outright? Dobert mentioned gross misrepresentations of the business mishap. What exactly are those, and who is responsible for these supposed distortions? It's clear the concerns go beyond the business dispute itself. You mentioned that the issues now exceed what the buyer raised initially. But what are these additional concerns? Are they related to the growing number of voices questioning the integrity of the elder board, or something else entirely? When the elders assured the congregation that none of the sins committed rise to a pattern of life, it begged the question, can you confirm that the majority of the elder board has not consistently engaged in lying and deception, particularly in their handling of the plagiarism and business mishaps in the last 12 months? How can you reconcile this claim when it seems some have repeatedly contributed to false narratives and misunderstandings in an apparent effort to silence concerns? Furthermore, have the long-standing business mishap concerns involving one elder been thoroughly investigated, or are these issues also being dismissed as irrelevant? Your repeated claims of commitment to transparency ring hollow when scrutinized. Why were certain qualified men excluded from participating in the reconciliation meeting with the buyer that was detailed at the last members' meeting? Was this exclusion a reflection of the partiality and favoritism you've already admitted exists among the elder board? At members' meeting, the elders seemed to position themselves as beyond reproach, attempting to checkmate the situation by framing criticism as slander, gossip, or outright attacks. Is this not deflecting accountability? Members who disagree with your handling of these issues aren't necessarily embracing a false narrative, they're voicing legitimate concerns. And what of the financial benefits tied to the business mishap? Can you assure us that this situation has been handled with zero favoritism or partiality, especially if 3 or more elders stand to gain financially from it? Can you confirm that only 3 of you have any financial ties in the same business? Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same, yet it's unclear how you're addressing reconciliation with not just the aggrieved buyer, but also the many members and families directly impacted by these mishaps. How can you demand submission to FBC eldership, likening it to the submission of wives to husbands or children to parents, when there are so many unresolved concerns about the integrity and impartiality of the elder board? Admissions of gossip and slander were made, but can you confirm the distinct sin of lying has not taken place? To claim that ultimate accountability rests between the elders and God is a weighty statement. Does that mean the congregation's voice, through whom God often speaks, is irrelevant? If systemic sin exists among the elder board, would God not use his people to affirm or challenge their leadership? Why are you ignoring the violated consciences of many godly individuals who have chosen to disfellowship from FBC? Are you simply assuming that all who've left are deceived or misguided? For the members, there are equally pressing questions. How are you balancing the need for elder accountability with the call for unity in the church? Does unity trump purity? Are you prioritizing loyalty to men over loyalty to Christ and his word? Leadership in the church is a sacred trust, not a position of privilege. If these men have violated that trust, are you willing to risk the spiritual health of the church by allowing them to remain in leadership? Have you considered whether overlooking sin in leadership contributes to their unpreparedness for divine accountability? By staying silent, are you complicit in their failures? Have you examined these events in light of Acts 17 verse 11 like the Bereans who diligently searched the scriptures? Or have you accepted the elders' narrative without question because it's easier than pursuing the truth? The call to faithfulness isn't easy, but it's necessary. Is your goal to see the church restored to health, or are you content to maintain the status quo, even if it means overlooking serious sin? True unity doesn't come from ignoring conflict, it comes from alignment with God's truth, as stated in John 17 verse 17. Will you be able to stand before Christ and say that you acted in obedience to His word? Or will you admit that you chose comfort over faithfulness? Consider this. If a candidate for eldership were implicated in these ways, would you confidently endorse their ordination? Why then are these same standards not being upheld for those already in leadership? FBC is at a crossroads. These are not merely organizational questions, they are spiritual ones. How the elders and members respond in this moment will not only shape the future of the church, but will also testify to their faithfulness to God's word. Yes, we should love these men. This is not about destroying them, it's about standing on truth. The office of elder is the highest office a man can hold, and with it comes the highest accountability. This situation is especially difficult because, yes, many of the elders are easy to like. Many of us still love the former teaching pastor, he is a good man. In fact, many miss him deeply. But love does not negate accountability. Despite our love for him, he is disqualified. Integrity in leadership is not optional, it is foundational. The path forward must be one of truth, humility, and faithfulness to Christ, no matter how difficult the process. True restoration and unity can only be built on a firm commitment to God's word and a refusal to compromise on holiness.